Fired up. Lots to cover. A few things that we're going to go over first. The main thing here, this new footage. This is pretty interesting footage. I haven't seen this before. Maybe some of you have. Play a few minutes of this.
This point of view is the point of view where the counter sniper team locally was posted. The gold arrow indicates where the shooter fired from. Why was the assailant not seen? When we were told that building was going to be covered.
The acting head of U.S. Secret Service testifying before Congress, you saw it happen yesterday, where he appeared to throw local snipers under the bus for not covering that building roof used by the gunman to shoot the former president, Donald Trump. And that is getting pushback from some local officials. Republican Texas Congressman Pat Fallon will join us on exactly that in moments. But first, let's get right to CB Cotton. She's live in Butler, Pennsylvania for us right now at the site of the shooting. CB, we've got brand new video coming in of that shooting taken by a witness.
Hi, Sandra. That's right. This is new chilling video that appears to show. Take a look. You can see a shadowy figure that appears to be moving on the roof across from the stage where former President Donald Trump was speaking back on July 13th. We know from the FBI would-be assassin Thomas Matthew Crooks traversed on roofs that were about 150 yards away from the rally stage. So perhaps this is Crooks who was captured in this video. In the meantime, though, we know there were communication failures during the rally. But now, based on the congressional testimony from Secret Service Acting Director Ronald Rowe, it's clear there were communication failures before, starting with the assumption.
Yeah, no doubt. But it's just one thing after the other. So now they have this new footage that shows maybe the same shooter. Who knows? They don't even know. It sounds like they don't know if it's the same dude or not. Or maybe they do and they're just not telling us. But guys just walking back and forth. There's Secret Service people behind this person. There's obviously somebody filming this who sees this. Maybe they don't see it, but they should know. They should be able to see it, I think. It's just they keep talking about these mistakes, but nobody's being held accountable. There's nobody being fired. It's just almost like a plan that went off and just did not execute. The plan did not execute the way that they wanted to, and the scripts weren't ready. People weren't ready for this. They weren't ready for Trump to actually live through this. That's what I mean. The more that we learn, the more that we find out, everything just points back to that to me. I don't know. Maybe it's just me.
From the Secret Service that local officers would cover the roof the gunman used. Now, local officials I'm speaking with say that assumption does not align with the assignment they were given.
But the Secret Service, he showed a window that was maybe right here,
exactly,
looking out to the roof.
No, that's not where we were assigned. We were assigned over here in those first two windows.
Woo, this is a tough choice, but I can't go like this. I'll give up my sword.
So he's wrong about the assignment.
Absolutely.
I think the biggest thing to not lose sight of is, their job was on being on the outside unsecured perimeter, looking inward at those, that had already gone through security.
What are you seeing?
The local officials told Fox this was the view their two snipers had. You can see here, this is a different warehouse window than the one Rowe referred to on Capitol Hill. And the vantage point is at the ground level looking into the crowd and not onto the roof. Those who lead the local snipers say if the Secret Service had told them to place their snipers on the roof, they would have. Acting Director Rowe says he takes responsibility for what took place here. And he says moving forward, the Secret Service will be more direct with its local law enforcement partners. We reached out to the Secret Service about what we're hearing from local officials here in Butler, Pennsylvania, and they referred us back to the acting director's testimony. Back to you.
That's wild.
Okay, CB Cotton with that update from Butler for us. CB, thank you. John?
All right, Sandra, let's bring in Republican Texas Congressman Pat Fallon, who serves on the bipartisan task force investigating the assassination attempt of former President Trump. Congressman, thanks for being with us. I don't know if you could see this, but I want to play the video again that CB Cotton just played. Here's a shot. This looks like it's from about the same level as the president was on when he was on the platform there. It zoomed in, so everything looks closer. But you can see somebody on the roof, and yet we were told by the Secret Service acting director yesterday that the sniper teams couldn't see him because he was obscured by the peak in the roof. This would seem to blow a huge hole in that excuse.
Well, John, seeing that video is chilling. It's almost as if, you're looking at the Texas Book Depository building in November of 1963. Fortunately, this had a different outcome, not for the families, of course, of Corey Comparatori. But what we need more and better. We need more personnel, more trained personnel to guard the presidential candidates and other principles that the Secret Service protects. But also we need better planning. We need better coordination. We need better communication. We need to be leveraging technology. Anti-drone technology probably could have prevented this to begin with. Also, President Trump certainly and others there needs to be a counter surveillance team on the ground. There needs to be counter assault teams on the ground. That wasn't the case in Butler on the 13th. And we need to, and that's why we're going to have every stone, no stone will be left unturned. And we're going to go down to the granular level and see what happened in Butler.
Well, I'll tell you, looking at this new videos, it's running as you're speaking here. It's just remarkable that you could see at least a head popping along that roof. Now, in terms of a drone, we heard from Ronald Rowe, the acting Secret Service director, yesterday, that the local police offered to fly a drone for surveillance of the event. And the Secret Service said, thanks, but no thanks.
And you know what's kind of crazy here? Watch how the camera pans up too, almost as if whoever is filming this also sees this person and notices this person here too, whoever this person is. And are they going to be able to tell us, to identify if this is the shooter or if this is someone else? But watch this. So, I mean, and there's not supposed to be anybody up there. There's Secret Service behind. There's Secret Service everywhere. There's snipers. And nobody sees this guy? Or whoever this is? I mean, watch. Just look at this. Look at the camera pans up. It sees this person. Whoever is filming this has got to see this person. Obviously, they don't know who he is, but then he goes in, he goes up. It looks like it matches the same clothing as the shooter, though. But this is ridiculous. This really is. Like, this should have never happened. It should have never gotten to this. Oh, I'm not full screen. Sorry, I need to be full screen. But watch, the camera pans right up there. Camera sees this person, whoever it is. And who's filming this? So many weird things, so many questions. Anyways, let me go back and play this.
Never happening again.
Again, just for folks at home, it looks a lot closer than it actually is, because when you zoom in, it compresses the video and the foreground and the background together. But that building's actually a lot further away than it looks. But in terms of where we are right now, Congressman, with the Secret Service and its ability to protect the former president and Kamala Harris, for that matter, which she goes into the campaign trail, a U.S.'s counter sniper is blowing the whistle on the Secret Service. He says another assassination attempt is likely. This is an email that Real Clear Politics obtained. It was dated Monday. The agency needs to change. If not now, when? The next assassination attempt in 30 days? Because we should all expect another attempt to happen before November. We've exposed our inability to protect our leaders due to our leadership. This whistleblower is saying you need to clean house there and start again.
There's no doubt about it. I mean, it's always easier to prevent something from happening than having to react to it. It's a lot safer in that regard. And I do think that you had a 20-year-old loner, untrained, with a week's notice, outsmarted and outmaneuvered the entire United States Secret Service. So there could be
that just doesn't happen. That cannot happen. This dude had to have been. There has to be more to it. Nobody's going to tell me that there is just this lone guy. A lone shooter is even hard for me to think. But even if this was just one shooter, it's really hard for me to think that it's just this guy and that's it. That he's the only one that's involved in it. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what ends up being the case. There's just a few more seconds.
Copycats that spring up because of this. And God forbid, John, if it had been a nefarious nation state with trained assassins, that could have been, led to a very different result. So these reforms need to be instituted immediately. And they do need to beef up security. They have 8,000 people that work in the Secret Service. They have over a $3 billion budget. They have to do an internal look right now, do a snapshot to mitigate some of this. But then Congress, you need that independent investigation because, as you know, agencies can't kind of get in that cover your backside mentality. And we need to really examine, and we need to change the leadership because the people that got you in the hole ain't going to get you out of it.
You know what's really crazy too? I think that's enough of that one. But what I find really crazy, and I'm sure you do too, if you've been following this, is the Democrats. The Congress held 4 hearings between the House and the Senate. They held four hearings so far, and a lot of the Democrats were like, I really shouldn't say a lot of them, but a lot of the high-profile, sold-out dinos, those Democrats were really trying to blame the guns. Their thing was this guy, it was all about the guns. How did Trump get saved? By a gun. A gun saved Donald Trump. So it just kind of, for me, it kind of zeroes it out. This is not a gun issue, because if you're going to say that, then you should also be talking about the fact that who saved Trump's life? Somebody with a gun saved Trump's life. That's what it is. So, all right, that rant is over. I think that's all from that clip that I have there. I know there's just a few more seconds, but that video I thought was really good. I'd never seen it before, so I really enjoyed it. There was a few other things. I just wonder if I just want to get to Kennedy's announcement. There is another short video here with Donald Trump, and I'm sure we'll see if this is going to have any. I hate this. There's ads everywhere. Let me see if I can get to this without an ad. You try to click on something, this thing pops up, and then that thing pops up. So
dangerous is in America.
Okay, so Laura Ingraham, again, I'm definitely not a fan of that lady either, or a lot of people on Fox News. I like Tucker Carlson on Fox. I like Jesse Waters. I like Gutfield. There's not really a whole lot for me to be excited about on Fox News. And this lady is definitely no exception to that. But curious to see.
If Biden barely there on good days and Kamala on the trail, who the heck is running the White House? And how dangerous is an America run by unelected technocrats? Which begs the question, who's the real threat to democracy?
I'm the opposite of a threat to democracy. They're a threat to democracy. I mean, look at what they just did. They just took over the presidency from a This was a coup. Biden is a very angry man right now. You know that. They took the presidency away. His wife didn't want it to happen. They took the presidency away like he was a child.
Who's making the decisions right now in the White House, do you think?
A group of people that are fascists, communists, Marxists. They circle the beautiful Resolute desk in the Oval Office, like in the Justice Department. I mean, I always felt that Merrick Garland, I had respect for him. There were some people that thought I should appoint him. I really gave it serious thought.
He had a good record.
But in the end, no, he did. I had a lot of respect for him. I'm so surprised that he's doing it.
But you're saying Biden isn't making any of the big decisions.
I don't think so, no. I don't think he knows he's alive.
Kamala Harris in her Twitter bio, which I never noticed until this morning, states her pronouns as she/her. What are your pronouns?
I don't want pronouns. I don't want pronouns. I saw
So
that.
you're fluid? What is that?
Nobody even knows what that means. Ask her to describe exactly what that means.
Well, what is that? Why are people
Nobody
doing
knows.
That? Well, what is that?
Because they're going crazy, all right? We have to bring our country back to sanity. So I say this about the Republican Party. It's a party now based on common sense, okay? We're conservative, I don't know. Conservative, we're everything. But we're based on common sense.
Yeah, so ask her, what does that mean? That was interesting. It just got muted all of a sudden. Just make sure everything's cool. All right, we're good to go. We're rolling. So I thought that was pretty funny from Trump. I think there is, if you haven't seen Trump's speech today that happened, I think that was a pretty good one. And I may play a little bit of that too. Let me go ahead and play some of that.
And
he also
some of
says
those
that people that don't have children should get less consequential and historic election year. NABJ has partnered with PolitiFact to fact check this conversation in real time. You can access that feed on social media using the hashtag NABJFactCheck. Again, the hashtag is NABJFactCheck. We have a lot to get to, and we do not want to waste any time. So let's bring out the former president of the United States, the Republican nominee for president, former President Donald Trump. Thank you. Mr. President, we so appreciate you giving us an hour of your time. I want to start by addressing the elephant in the room, sir. A lot of people did not think it was appropriate for you to be here today. You have pushed false claims about some of your rivals, from Nikki Haley to former President Barack Obama, saying that they were not born in the United States, which is not true. You have told 4 congresswomen of color who were American citizens to go back to where they came from. You have used words like animal and rabid to describe Black district attorneys. You've attacked Black journalists, calling them a loser, saying the questions that they ask are, quote, stupid and racist. You've had dinner with a white supremacist at your Mar-a-Lago resort. So my question, sir, now that you are asking Black supporters to vote for you, why should Black voters trust you after you have used language like that?
Well, first of all, I don't think I've ever been asked a question so in such a horrible manner. First question. You don't even say, hello, how are you? Are you with ABC? Because I think they're a fake news network, a terrible network. And I think it's disgraceful that I came here in good spirit. I love the Black population of this country. I've done so much for the Black population of this country, including employment, including opportunity zones with Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, which is one of the greatest programs ever for Black workers and Black entrepreneurs. I've done so much. And, you know, and I say this, historically, Black colleges and universities were out of money. They were stone cold broke. And I saved them and I gave them long-term financing, and nobody else was doing it. I think it's a very rude introduction. I don't know exactly why you would do something like that. And let me go a step further. I was invited here and I was told my opponent, whether it was Biden or Kamala, I was told my opponent was going to be here.
Yeah, that's the other thing is they, you know, Trump, first of all, he makes that point. It's a really good point that, oh, no, you can't do it through Zoom. But then Kamala Harris, she can do it via Zoom. No problem. And do you think they're going to ask, or they would have asked Kamala Harris these type of questions, the questions that they're asking Trump, the way that we're only a few minutes in. And look at how they're treating President Trump, the greatest president since George Washington. Maybe John F. Kennedy might be in there a little bit, but Trump did a lot more with a lot less, fighting a lot more, fighting this deep state in ways that no other president has been forced to out in the open. And what they did to him, even after out of office, is disgusting. It is just some of the worst things you could ever do to a human being, all because he would not comply with them. That's why. If he was really a part of this system, they wouldn't be treating him like this. And what's crazy is Trump has some goods on them. Those files that they took, you know, we don't really know exactly what those files, the classified, declassified files were. But I would not be surprised if there were some 9/11 files in there, if there were some JFK files in there, if there were maybe even some RFK files in there, and maybe even some JFK Jr. files in there too. We just don't know. Okay, back to greatest president.
Out, my opponent isn't here. You invited me under false pretense. And then you said, you can't do it with Zoom. Well, you know, where's Zoom? She's going to do it with Zoom, and she's not coming. and then you were half an hour late. Just so we understand, I have too much respect for you to be late. They couldn't get their equipment working or something
Mr.
was
President,
wrong.
I would love
I think
if you
it's
can
a
answer the
very
question
nasty
on your rhetoric
question.
and why you
I have
believe that
answered
black
the
voters
question.
should trust you with another
I
4
have
years.
been the best president for the black population since Abraham Lincoln. That's my answer.
Better than President
That's
Johnson,
my
who signed the
answer.
Voting Rights
And
Act.
for you to start off a question and answer period, especially when you're 35
Oh my
minutes
goodness.
late,
Did she
because
just
you couldn't
say
get your equipment to work in such a hostile manner, I think it's a disgrace. I
Let
really
me-
do.
let
I
me
think
just ask
I'm
a
sure y'all
follow-up,
just
sir.
heard that. She just said better than President Lyndon Johnson. She's really going to try to compare Lyndon Johnson, who has done nothing, who would have done nothing for the blacks, for civil rights. It was only he was forced to. Then he got us into Vietnam. How many black people got killed there? But they always want to make it a black-white issue. Even these conventions or these things that he's speaking at, the black journalists. Why don't we just have all journalists, just all? And so it's just a weird environment, first of all. But the question, you can see it's a hostile person. The other two are pretty good. There's 3 moderators here, or 3 people that are asking questions. The other 2 are good. Whoever this lady is in this blue suit is just terrible. It's horrible. Worse than the mic issues and all the issues that they had. But even Trump re-truthed out or sent a truth out after this, and it's like, it was a hostile environment, but we still did great. And I agree with him. I think he did really good going into those hostile crowd. I like him doing this stuff. I thought that the Libertarian Party convention that Trump was at, that speech was it was a semi-hostile crowd. This was kind of semi-hostile too, but he needs to go to do more things like this. He shines when he does more like this, not just catering to all of us MAGA Trump people. That's all good. That's all well and good, but he really can shine when he's doing things like this. That's why he does so well in all of the presidential debates, because that is the whole point of it. And that's why he did so well in that CNN one, where I forget what that lady's name was, but he called her a nasty person. The crowd loved it, ate it up, and rightfully so. Back to the man a little bit more.
And then we'll move on to other questions here. Some of your own supporters, including Republicans on Capitol Hill, have labeled Vice President Kamala Harris, who is the first Black and Asian American woman to serve as vice president and be on a major party ticket, as a DEI hire. Is that acceptable language to
This is hilarious here. Look, watch his response. This is hilarious.
you? And will you tell those Republicans and those supporters to stop it?
How do you define DEI? Go ahead. How do you define
Diversity, equity, inclusion?
Okay, yeah, go ahead. Is that what your definition?
That is
Give me a
literally
definition
the words
then. Would you give me a definition
DEI.
of that? Give me a definition.
Sir, I'm asking you a question, a
you
very
have to
direct
define
question.
it. Define it for me, if you
I
would.
just defined it, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is only on the ticket because she is a
She
Black
didn't
woman?
define it. She didn't define what DEI means. She probably doesn't even know what that means. She's just going along with these talking points. This is what they do. You can easily tell this person is so far left, so blue. And then the lady in the middle asked some hard questions too, but she was nice. She was fair. And then Faulkner, who is on the far right-hand side here. Pretty interesting when you think about it, left and right. And then the centrist, someone in the center. But, she's always good, the Faulkner focus on Fox News. So, she's going to be a little bit more friendly. But even she tries to hit him with some hard questions here. But it's the audio. He's having a hard time hearing. It's not because he got shot in the ear.
Can say, no, I think it's maybe a little bit different. So I've known her a long time indirectly, not directly very much. And she was always of Indian heritage, and she was only promoting Indian heritage. I didn't know she was Black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn Black, and now she wants to be known as Black. So I don't know, is she Indian or is she Black?
She is always
But you know
identified
what?
as a Black woman.
I
She went to a
respect either
historically Black
one.
college.
I respect either one, but she obviously doesn't, because she was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn and she became a Black person.
Just to be clear, sir, do
And
you
I
believe
think,
that
I think
she is
somebody should look into that too when you continue in a very hostile, nasty tone.
It's a direct question, sir. Do you believe that Vice President Kamala Harris is a DEI hire, as some
I
Republicans
really
have
don't
said?
know. I mean, I really don't know. Could be. There are some, and there are plenty. I know this lady right over there Harris is a fantastic person who just interviewed me at length. And we had a great interview, I think, and I heard you got very good ratings on that.
Well, you told me it was the longest one of your life, so we had a good discussion. Look, I want to talk about why you're here today. I mean, it is not lost on us how divided we are as a country. And as you were coming today, we really got to see that we were divided along the lines of race, along the lines of gender. And there is this question of, in this moment where we are, why come here? What is your message today?
My message is to stop people from invading our country that are taking, frankly, a lot of problems with it. But one of the big problems, and a lot of the journalists in this room I know and I have great respect for, a lot of the journalists in this room are Black. I will tell you that coming from the border are millions and millions of people that happen to be taking Black jobs. You had the best.
What exactly is a Black job, sir?
A Black job is anybody that has a job. That's what it is. Anybody that has a job.
All right.
And
Mr. President,
they're taking the employment away from Black people. They're coming in, they're invading. It's an invasion of millions of people, probably 15, 16, 17 million people. I have a feeling it's much more than that. And everybody's been seeing what's happened. The first group of people, the Black population, is affected most by that. And Kamala is allowing it to happen. She's the border czar. She's the worst border czar in the history of the world. There's never been a border czar like this. She's never even essentially been. She said she was there once, but not the right part of the border. So she was a border czar. She's done a horrible job. These people are coming into our country and they're taking Black jobs and Hispanic jobs. And frankly, they're taking union jobs. Unions are being very badly affected by all of the millions of people that are pouring into our country. And one thing, as we discussed, many of these people are coming in from mental institutions, from prisons, from jails. They're gang members in other countries. Other countries are setting loose their prisoners. They're opening up their prisons and their mental institutions, and they're taking their bad people, drug dealers, gang members, and they're bringing them into the United States. And by the way, their crime rate is going down, and our crime rate is going to be a disaster.
Mr. President, I want to get into how you address some of the issues.
Sorry, that's about 8 minutes of the 35-minute speech there that President, or not speech, but the interview that President Trump gives. And I hope he does more of these things going into these environments here. I think he does very, very well in those. So make your own decision of what you think it was, how good it was, how bad it was. But the next thing that I want to get to is a press conference. Remember, Trump also spoke today too. So after that, he goes and does a rally in Pennsylvania. So this is in Chicago. Then he goes and does a rally in Pennsylvania for another hour and a half speech. Maybe I'll play some of that too. But getting back to some more positive news, some less hostile stuff is RFK Jr. They did a ballot access press briefing today, and you can find this on RFK Jr.'s channel. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. This would be, I think it's at Team Kennedy is the actual name of the channel. But I'm going to play some of that here. It's a pretty long one. This is an hour and 14 minutes. So I doubt I'm going to play that whole thing. I may cut in a little bit. This is really good. This is good stuff. It's unlisted too, which is interesting. So it's not something that they have made public. So here you go. If you have not seen this, hopefully they'll keep it active on their channel. But I got the message, just got the message today. And this is good news. 42 states, man. Kennedy is going to do it. He has a real chance. A real chance. He is the real deal, Holyfield. Here we go.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Kennedy Campaign Ballot Access Press Briefing. I'm Stephanie Spear, Press Secretary for the campaign. I've enjoyed getting to know many of you and glad you could be here today. First, a few housekeeping rules. Everyone will be muted unless you're speaking. If you could right now, be sure that your name is listed as your first and last name and then your news outlet. Once we get to questions, I'll be referencing your name and your news outlet, so please make sure you update that right now. During the Q&A session, if you have a question, please raise your hand. And when I call on a reporter, your mic will get unmuted by our tech staff. And if you can please keep your questions concise and specific to ballot access. So we're going to start off today. It's an exciting day for us. We have an announcement we'll be making about ballot access today on this call that'll get press released as soon as this press briefing is over, and a lot of other ballot access details to share. First, I'd like to start off with a time-lapse video that shows our ballot access journey to date. So as you can see, we've been really busy and our momentum is very strong. We've surpassed all of our milestones for ballot access and are very excited to have Kennedy Shanahan on all 50 state ballots in the District of Columbia. I'd now like to introduce Robert F. Kennedy Jr., independent presidential candidate, who will give us some updates.
Very, very happy and very proud to announce this this milestone and this success. Today, we are announcing that we have sufficient signatures to get on the ballot in 8 more states: Alabama, Arkansas, Kansas, Massachusetts, Montana, North Dakota, Vermont, and Virginia. This achievement follows a similar achievement 2 days ago when we announced signatures in 9 states: Connecticut, Idaho, Iowa, Maine, Missouri, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. We now have sufficient signatures to get on the ballot in 42 states, and that's sufficient to win 480 electoral college votes. I want to begin by thanking this extraordinary effort by our volunteers. We have an army of volunteers, over 100,000 now, who have worked on getting ballot access for us. It was really a monumental effort. The rules, draconian and Byzantine rules that govern ballot access in the 50 states, were written by the Democratic and Republican Party to prevent competition, to make it insurmountable for a candidate for the independent candidate for the presidency to ever get their name on the ballot in all 50 states. And indeed, most of the members of the press, virtually all of the major press outlets, have been predicting since day one, since I declared my independence 8 months ago, that this could not be done, that we could never achieve this, that our campaign should not be taken seriously because we would never be on the ballot. And I think most of you who are journalists can go back and look in your journals and see those predictions. And like many of the other things that people have predicted about us during this campaign, we have been able to overcome impossible odds. I want to thank the 100,000 volunteers. They made an effort. I run into our volunteers as I travel across the country. These are people who, always surprise me. They're people who mainly I've never met before, who have devoted months and months of hard work to getting me on the ballot. It's very humbling. It's very touching. I met a giant man about 6'6" the other day in Nevada, who said that he had lost 20 pounds over the past 3 days collecting signatures for me in the 117-degree heat. And in New Hampshire, I met many volunteers who participated in our effort to get on the New Hampshire ballot. I think we needed 2,500 signatures. We got 5,000 signatures in 4 days during a snowstorm, when the volunteers had to persuade people walking on the streets in Concord and Manchester and Keene to stop, to take their gloves off, to write in a clear hand, because if they were shivering and their hand moved, then the efforts against us would invalidate that ballot. And they were able to do that. I was with the other day in Maine some of the volunteers who went and got our signatures validated in all 400 towns. They had to visit 400 towns and talk with the town clerk and get the town clerk to sign, to notarize the signatures from that particular town. So we needed volunteers to go to 400 separate towns in the state to collect signatures and then to get them certified by the town clerk. And it's a monumental logistical task that we've accomplished. No presidential candidate in history has ever gotten 1 million signatures. We have an extraordinary team. I want to particularly thank Nick Brana and Amaryllis Kennedy, who masterminded and orchestrated this, but our entire team are made up of people who gave their blood, sweat, and tears to make sure that we could accomplish this extraordinary feat. And they're people who are committed to our campaign of unifying our country. On July 12th, I gave a speech about America Strong and talked about how crises have always brought out the best in America and unity in America. After 9/11, after the Boston Marathon bombing, after hurricanes and tornadoes and other crises in our country have always brought Americans together. And when we're together, we can accomplish anything. And the enemies of our country know that. And the people who want to exploit our country know that. And they are deliberately keeping us divided. And neither the Republican Party nor the Democratic Party nor the candidates, President Trump or Vice President Harris, have the capacity to end that division. My speech was the day before President Trump's attempted assassination, and I outlined a plan for a unity government, how I'm going to invite Democrats and Republicans in to my cabinet, and people from other political parties to my cabinet, to run the agencies, and to involve them in a commission, a bipartisan commission to choose Supreme Court justices. This is very similar to what Abraham Lincoln did with his team of rivals, and where he brought Americans together at a time of the greatest division in our history, which was the American Civil War. I gave that speech the day before the assassination attempt, and for a moment after that assassination
attempt, I'm just going to break in a little bit.
Both political candidates at that time were talking about unity, but those aspirations for unity, for kindness, for compassion and understanding across the party lines have since then evaporated, and we're back to the name calling, the vitriol, the demonization of the other side. And as long as we're at each other's throats, we're not going to be able to accomplish anything as our country. Our country is going to continue to spiral in decline. We can reverse that decline. We have extraordinary resiliency, but a house divided cannot stand. And we need a candidate, finally, who is going to bridge that gap and bring Americans together.
He's right.
And
he's definitely right about that. We definitely need that. So, I mean, I'm all in with Trump, but I really like RFK Jr. too. What I really like about him is the world needs a third party choice. We need a third choice. We don't just want the two parties. And even though I don't believe that Donald J. Trump is a part of this two-party system. He is running within those two parties, where Kennedy is not. Now, Kennedy wanted to, and he tried, and he realized that that just was not going to work out for him. He had no path to victory with the Democratic Party. Of course, if he would have stuck it out, who knows? Who knows what would have happened? But it all just looks like a big thing to make sure Kennedy got out and stayed out. But this is where Kennedy is right now. If you go to Kennedy24.com, you can see all of this right here and see where the ballot access is. He's at 480 out of what, 530, I think, 530 or 560. I have to go look that up. Should know by now. But everything is purple. There is no gray, just nothing. There's very few of these purple ones here. They're all, or light purple ones, I should say. Even DC. So, like he says, he's getting there. There's still some that they have to finish out getting the people to sign up in these states and in the DC, in the District of Columbia. But they're really thinking by August, if not sooner, within a few days here, a week or so, they should have it all wrapped up and be on the ballot in all 50 states plus DC. That is amazing. That is amazing. And you can watch Kennedy and you can see he's going to show us how it is done. How do you do it? How do you make sure you get on all 50 states and the District of Columbia too? He's doing it. He's a trailblazer. He's setting a new trend. And the best thing for this country is to have another choice. It's not a spoiler vote. People who want to vote for Trump, if they vote for Kennedy, that's not a wasted vote. For me, it's not a spoiler vote. Those are good, hardworking people of the greatest country ever on God's green earth that are making a hard choice. It's a hard choice. When you want to vote for Kennedy and Trump, that's a hard choice because you're going to find very little reason not to vote for them. If you were reluctant to already vote for Joe Biden and now you have Kamala Harris, it's not official yet, but it looks like that's who it's going to be. Now you have Harris. What do you do with that? Now it's like, oh, the option just got worse. But for you, if it's all about, if you're retarded and you just are all about getting Donald Trump out and make sure that he doesn't win, do what a retard does then and vote for Kamala Harris. That's your right. That's your choice. That's your vote. At least you vote. I tell good people this all the time. And I was shocked when I heard that Christians and gun owners are the ones that aren't voting. I thought we would be the ones that are voting, but it makes sense. It makes a lot of sense now. If it's true, if those stats are true, that they're not voting, well, they got to vote. The good people have got to vote. You have to. There's very few ways that you can express your view and very few powers that the people have left. And they want to make us think that the voting power isn't even worth it. Don't even show up. It's not even worth it because they know how valuable your vote is. That's why there's voter fraud. That's why they go to such great lengths to get people to not vote or to just smash the candidate that is standing in their way, which right now is not just Donald J. Trump, but it's also RFK Jr. So they've got to fight it from both sides now. And it's a losing battle because when you're trapped in the middle and you got people coming at you from the right and the left, which is what this deep swamp, this New World Order has right now. They've got Kennedy on the left, Trump on the right, and they are swarming in for the victory. Unfortunately, only one of them can win. So we'll see. Whatever happens, it's all God's plan. It's all in God's hands. But this is great news. Trump supporters should be happy about this. I hope Trump supporters are not bitter about this, not upset about this. Oh, Kennedy's going to take away votes from us. He doesn't have a chance. He's got a chance. He's got a big chance. So find your state, hover over it, click on it, and then you can see exactly what is going on in your state. What does Kennedy need to do? Little tiny Rhode Island over here. You can even click on the cute little Rhode Island. And so they have until September 6th to get that 1,000 people to sign up. There was a great video. I can't remember who did it, but they explained the voting process. It was in Maine. The way that Maine works is like a almost like a you vote like a 3-tier system or something, and you vote with. Anyways, look up the voting process in Maine, and you'll have a better understanding. But I watched a video last night, and it really broke it down to where wow, Kennedy can win. It's almost like a first round, second round, then a third round. It's very interesting. It's not just a straight vote, winner take all. And I forget what the other state was. There are 2 states that vote like that. So, anyways, Kennedy has a shot. I do expect Kennedy to walk away with a couple states, if not more. And what would happen? What you gonna do if it just so happens that not only does Kennedy win, but also Trump wins a couple states and they almost tie or nobody gets to 270? That will be a big deal. So let me play a little bit more of Kennedy's video and then I will be right.
Moment, I'm the only campaign who has the capacity to do that. Oh, I want to thank again the team, and you know they forced us. They forced us to do something we should have never had to do. They forced us to bear this expense and to organize this tremendous effort, and it's put us at a huge advantage in the upcoming election because we now have 100,000 volunteers who are highly motivated, who are proven, who are battle tested, who are on the street, and we are now deploying them. We're pivoting and deploying them to voter identification projects, to get out the vote, to doing all the things that we need to do to have a ground army to win this election. Oh, again, I want to thank everybody on the team who was involved in this extraordinary accomplishment, and thank all the members of the press who came today. And Stephanie, I'll hand it back to you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yes, lots of momentum and very exciting time. And the launching of our America Strong platform is going to take us to the end. So thank you so much. I'd love to introduce now Nicole Shanahan, our independent vice presidential candidate. Nicole, the floor is yours.
Hi, everybody. Hello, members of the press. Thank you so much for joining us today. We couldn't be more excited to share our progress with you. We appreciate you following us on this journey so much. You know, in every effort central to a campaign, a presidential campaign, we've had significant handicaps compared to Biden, Harris, and Trump. We've had them in debate access, the Presidential Debate Commission not being able to run these debates, or a truly objective party that is not able to see through polling manipulation. It's been, you know, we've been up against a lot, and we'd love to see Bobby on the stage this come September. We'd love your support with that. Any advocacy we'd be so grateful for. We've had fundraising caps. The max donation to our campaign has been $6,600. And so we've been doing this financially handicapped. Ballot access handicap is the largest handicap. It's where the majority of our funds have gone. And I have to say, I had no idea how difficult it was for third-party candidates to access ballots in this country. I always assumed that we were an open democracy that encouraged as many qualified voices to speak. And I have to say that ballot access has given all of us an opportunity to come together to wear multiple hats. I've had the opportunity to cross the country and meet our volunteers, to meet our ballot access team. I'm on the phone with Nick Brana almost daily. I've gotten to know my notary incredibly well because every document we've had to sign multiple times because there's so many nuanced rules that if we have a notary stamp in the wrong place, they'll reject it. We have these very tight deadlines that seem somewhat arbitrary. And so we've had people flying across the country trying to deliver these documents and affidavits. And we have to do it state by state, and every single state is different. Every piece of paperwork is different. Every requirement category and where you sign and what address box you fill in is different. Media coverage. I know that the media, you've been under incredible pressure this election cycle. It's been unprecedented what we've seen over the last 2 weeks. And I want to commend you for staying flexible and open and hopeful, because I will say, 51% of Americans now identify as independents. And it's a wonderful opportunity as well, I think, for the media to really take an objective look at where the United States is. It is an unprecedented election in so many ways. And if there's ever been an opportunity for a third-party candidate to have success, it is this election. And it will be truly groundbreaking, especially since we have approached this as a unity ticket. We're not trying to create a new breakaway third party. We are here to unite the country in every way imaginable, from, looking beyond identity politics to looking beyond vitriol and name calling and, smear campaigning. For one, we don't have the resources to smear campaign. That's a multi-million-dollar endeavor. And we don't do that. We found other ways to run a very, very gracious campaign. So I think that it's just been the most heartwarming, wonderful experience to find other Americans across the political spectrum who have come together and united. There are two categories in particular I've spent a lot of time with of voters, moms, as well as immigrants and children of immigrants. Just this last week, Amaryllis and I were talking just now about how so many children of immigrants have come to our campaign and have said, thank you. Thank you for giving us a third option. We're seeing what's happening around the world. We're seeing what's happening in this country. We're concerned. And we see the culture and the grace and the American spirit embodied in your campaign, and we are grateful to you. So I just want to say thank you to all of our volunteers. One in particular who has been my guiding light since I joined the campaign. Her name is Kim Haynes. I had the opportunity to spend 2 hours with her yesterday, but Kim is one of our campaign leads in Hawaii. And the week that I joined the campaign, I heard about Kim overcoming our first ballot access challenge here in Hawaii. She is a mom. She's a former pediatric chiropractor, and she went up against one of Hawaii's top attorneys to win our ballot access challenge. And I think of Kim every day when I'm out here and we are presented with a new and unknown challenge and a new and unknown hurdle, because we have to carry each other forward, and that is the nature of this campaign. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to turn it back over to Stephanie now.
Thanks so much, Nicole. I just want to remind all the press, if you can please right now update your name with your first, last name, and then your news outlet. When we get to questions, I'll be calling on people who I know who they are. So if you can do that, that would be great. I am now thrilled to introduce Nick Brana. Nick is the campaign senior advisor and ballot access director who's been helping lead the charge on our journey to ballot access. Nick, I'll give you the floor.
Thanks so much, Stephanie, Bobby, Nicole, Amaryllis, everybody, Paul, Rossi, our amazing senior ballot access counsel, and everybody across the country that has participated in this truly monumental, historic effort to achieve ballot access across the country. I remember back in October was reminiscing as we were preparing for this very press conference with some of our fellow campaign leaders who are speaking here today, back in October planning this, and there was so many questions around whether we would be able to accomplish this, because I will tell you, having done it now, that independent ballot access is a labyrinth laced with a minefield. Oftentimes, the secretaries of state do not know their own rules. They will sometimes mislead you. Some are very helpful. They hadn't even produced the forms that were necessary until sometimes days or hours before we had to submit them. The amount of challenges is truly incredible, because this was not meant to be done. It was meant to be a barrier to any kind of challenge to the entrenched big money duopoly. And yet, thanks to the incredible work of more than 100,000 volunteers across the country, we are indeed doing it. And I want to share a little bit more to illustrate what exactly that has meant. The level of complexity of ballot access as an independent is astonishing.
Mm-hmm.
Every state is different. So you have 51 little mazes.
I can only imagine. And I'll just break away from there just to play a few things. I didn't know about this. This is interesting here too. Let me pull this up. Where is it? There we go. Guess who else is writing a book? Of course, I'm writing a book right now called Kennedy and Trump. It's all a work in progress here. But look at this. Guess who else is writing a book? Melania Trump. May your experience reading my book be as enjoyable as the writing process was for me. MelaniaTrump.com. I didn't know. Is it out or what is it? Is that all it is? Okay. Pre-order now. Okay, cool. Exclusively on MelaniaTrump.com. Interesting. All right. So that is the most recent, or was the most recent, Truth Social post from Donald Trump. Now we have something from the New York Post, who seems to have a pretty good love affair with Trump. It seems like they really post a lot of his stuff and pretty favorable. I have not seen the whole Pennsylvania speech, so I may play a little bit of that too. I don't know, what is this? Wow, I wonder how many people were there. That's a big crowd. Not that I should be shocked. The dude can draw. He can draw crowds. He can draw numbers. So
let's just listen to her. Now, she's a totally, oh, no, I love fracking. Let's just see what her video says. She had it taped just a little while ago. Let's go.
Will you commit to implementing a federal ban on fracking your first day in office, adding the United States to the list of countries who have banned this devastating practice?
There's no question I'm in favor of banning fracking.
Okay.
She changed her mind. Aren't women entitled to do that? I thought that was okay, that women could change their mind.
Just yesterday, it was reported that more than 1,000 members of the savage Venezuelan gang, Trendy Arguay, are plotting to conduct ambush attacks on police and law enforcement in the United States. All the while, Harris and Biden sit in the White House and try and figure out who's dumber. They sit in the White House. Think of it. Massive numbers of Venezuelan gang members. Now, Venezuela is very smart. They sent them into our country. And then you read that crime is down 72% in Venezuela, which it is. On Sunday, in a separate incident, a Venezuelan illegal alien criminal let in the border by our border czar, Harris, shot a female police officer in Texas. You read about it. Multiple times with a rifle. Thankfully, the officer is perhaps going to survive. They don't know yet, but probably. But most victims are not so lucky. In Texas last month, 12-year-old Jocelyn Nungari was tied up, sexually assaulted, and strangled to death by two illegal aliens who Biden and Harris released into the United States. If Border Czar Harris stays in charge, every single week will bring never-ending streams of illegal alien rapists, bloodthirsty killers, and child predators to go after our sons and our daughters and our wives and our husbands.
Yeah, pretty disgusting. Definitely hard to watch. And I'll go back and play a little bit more of this. Just jump into some peaceful stuff for a minute.
With minefields. You have differences in paper size, the signatures, how the printed name has to be included, whether it's required, the address, the birthday, the date. On the petitions themselves, some require attestations, others declarations, others notarizations that have to be done perfect. And each one is slightly different in every state. And people have to be trained. Your petitioners, volunteers have to be trained in order to get them just right. You have to submit, when you submit the signatures, it's not as easy as, oh, here's a stack of paper. You turn it over to the Secretary of State. You often have to sort it in a very particular way, by county, by circulator, by declaration. You have to number them often as well. Sometimes you have to number them with the final number as well. So 1 out of 1,000, 2 out of 1,000, 3 out of 1,000. You got to know exactly how many there are from the very start. If you make a mistake, you're screwed. You have to bind them. You have to clip them. There are county turn-ins in some states. You got to turn it in, of course, to the state in the end. There's different validation windows for the county turn-ins when you hand it to them before they give it back to you when they validate the signatures. In some states, we've turned into 100 towns or counties before we have received the signatures back to turn them into the states. For electors is like an entire mini ballot access operation within itself. You have to vet, interview, ensure disaffiliations. Every state has a different party disaffiliation date. Sometimes you have congressional district distributions. Sometimes you have alternates. And then, of course, oftentimes things have to be notarized. And you have multiple forms per elector to submit to the state by exactly the deadline. The number of signatures required per state is heavily lopsided towards a few states, as you can see here: California, Florida, Texas, North Carolina, New York, Arizona, Indiana. Early on, one of the strategies that we adopted that was very successful was either forming or seeking party ballot lines in some of these states like California and Florida that have gigantic signature requirements. And that allowed us to save hundreds of thousands of signatures that we would have needed to collect otherwise. And yet still, as Bobby said at the top of the call, we needed to collect 1 million signatures nationwide, even cutting our signature total about in half with political parties strategically in certain areas. Here's a window into our ballot access data operation. You can see here, this is a Gantt chart that we created with the different dates in every single state's deadline and petitioning window from when they open to when they close across the country. And so this is part of how we wrapped our heads around the ballot access challenge to tackle it in a way where we were always allocating resources at the appropriate state that needed them. This spreadsheet from which I pulled this, our main ballot access spreadsheet, you can see here how many fields it has because we're in CWCXCV. So there are hundreds of fields in these spreadsheets because there are hundreds of variables.
You turn it this way, you get it back.
Early on, we started off by dividing the country into 5 different national field regions. We have a phenomenal field team led by Will Boothby, along with 5 different regions here, as you can see: the Northeast, the South, the Midwest, the Southwest, and the West. And we did this also, part of the strategy around doing this was grouping the regions around a particular heavy, so that we would have people volunteering in a particular region, helping out in some of the states that are easier, and then focusing their attention on a California, a Texas, a Florida, in New York, when those states came up that have particularly high signature requirements. This is where we were just a few days ago on Sunday, 392 electoral votes, and this is where we are now. 480. So I'm just going to show that again because I'm so proud of that. This is what the map looks like now in terms of where we have finished. The scale of the effort is really impossible to convey, but I hope those photos that played while Nicole was speaking gives a small taste of what's been done across the country to pull this off. This week alone, in the past couple days, Monday and today, Wednesday, we have completed the petitioning in Alabama, Arkansas, Kansas, Massachusetts, Montana, North Dakota, Vermont, and Virginia. And we have submitted signatures in Connecticut, Idaho, Iowa, Maine, Missouri, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, West Virginia. And we were certified in Alaska, Indiana, and Nebraska. That brings us up to a total of 10 states where we've completed petitioning, 19 where we have submitted the signatures, and 13 where we have been certified. Adding up to 42 in total. Here are a few of the certification letters that we're getting: Alaska, Indiana, Minnesota, Nebraska, as an example. And every time we get one of these, we share them around the team and we celebrate. The Kennedy campaign, the Kennedy Shanahan ticket, is the most successful independent campaign in decades. We have collected more signatures than any candidate in American history. We've raised about $52 million, unprecedented for an independent in the age of the internet. We have more than 115,000 volunteers, more than a million, I think it was up to 11 million real debate views. And we have a perfect record of defeating the legal challenges. Sharing some more photos here. And I believe that is the conclusion of our slideshow, except for this one more thing to share. This right here, which is a little bit of an overview of the active challenges and the legal challenge victories, which I will leave to our Senior Ballot Access Counsel, Paul Rossi, and I'll hand it back to you. Or I'll hand it to Paul, I think. I think that was
Yep.
our...
Thank you, Nick. Yep.
Yeah, well, thank you, Nick. Nick has done a fantastic job, as has everybody on this team. As the person in charge of sort of providing the rules to Team Kennedy to navigate through these. I mean, the minefield is absolutely correct. You know it's a difficult area when the state officials themselves don't know their own rules, which is surprising because, presidential campaigns come every 4 years. You would expect there would be natural institutional knowledge in the secretaries of state and the boards of elections. But very often, especially very early on, they didn't know their own rules and were unable to convey it. And they are relying on statutes which are so opaque and so Byzantine on purpose by the Republicans and Democrats to make it almost impossible to decipher. So I want to thank the team for having the patience to understand the rules take every rule very seriously, and then take those rules out into the field and successfully collect 1 million signatures, and also to the point where we are now, we're going to have a 50-state ballot access for Team Kennedy.
I think that's great. And I'll just play a little bit, or I do want to read a little bit of this here, just for fun. Just because it's so awesome, because I've enjoyed doing this so much. This may be the last time, maybe one more time we get to actually do this here. But this is from today. Kennedy surpasses 1 million signatures. 1 million signatures. Completes petitioning in 8 more states. Will soon be on ballot in all 50 states, plus DC. Los Angeles, California, July 31st. July 31st, 2024. At a Kennedy campaign press briefing today, independent presidential candidate Robert F. Kennedy Jr. announced the campaign has collected more signatures than any presidential candidate in American history, collecting more than 1 million signatures. That's right, more than anyone in history. They forced us to bear this ballot access expense and organize a tremendous volunteer effort, said Kennedy at today's ballot access press briefing. It's turned out to be a huge advantage in the upcoming election, as we now have more than 100,000 volunteers ready to get the vote out and win this election. The campaign also announced today it has collected all of the required signatures in 8 more states, including Alabama, Arkansas, Kansas, Massachusetts, Montana, North Dakota, Vermont, and Virginia. All signatures have been validated by the campaign's independent ballot access validation firm, confirming Kennedy has more than enough signatures to achieve ballot access in each state. Today's achievements follow the campaign's biggest turn in events just 2 days ago, when the campaign submitted its signatures in 9 states, including Connecticut, Idaho, Iowa, Maine, Missouri, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia. More than 50% of Americans now identify as independents, independent vice presidential candidate Nicole Shanahan said at today's presser. There has never been a better opportunity for a third-party candidate to have success, especially with a unity ticket. We are here to unite the country. The Kennedy-Shanahan campaign has now collected the signatures needed for ballot access in 42 states, totaling 480 electoral votes, 89% of the 538 total electoral votes nationwide. The Kennedy-Shanahan ticket is officially on the ballot in 13 states: California, Delaware, Hawaii, Michigan, Minnesota, New Mexico, North Carolina, Oklahoma, South Carolina, Utah, and now Alaska, Indiana, and Nebraska. The campaign has submitted its signatures in 19 states: Colorado, Connecticut, Georgia, Idaho, Illinois, Iowa, Louisiana, Maine, Missouri, Nevada, New Jersey, New York, Ohio, Oregon, Pennsylvania, Tennessee, Texas, Washington, and West Virginia. It has collected enough signatures for ballot access in 10 states: Florida, New Hampshire, and now Alabama, Arkansas, Kansas, Massachusetts, Montana, North Dakota, Vermont, and Virginia. Whew, that is a lot. They've done it, and they've done it well. Not much more to tell there. Not much more to say about that. It's amazing what they have done. And so this presser, I'm glad that they're, even though it's unlisted, I hope they make it public. But you can go to the website, Kennedy 24, and you can find it, because it is definitely worth watching. I think I'm only about 30 minutes in to 74 minutes. So I don't know if I'll play the whole thing there, but it's so amazing, and it really gives me hope. And like I said many times, Kennedy has a job to do. He's got to finish the job. Kennedy 24, I like it. I hope you like it too. I like Trump 2024 as well. I got the new hat here that my wife bought for me. Thank you. So it's both Kennedy and Trump are doing historical things, unprecedented things to make this country great again. What is Kamala Harris doing? What is Biden doing? What is Obama doing? What are they doing to make this country great again? Gavin Newsom. The same cast of characters, the same results. Biden's been a politician, they say, for 40 years. And what has he done? Kamala Harris has been involved in government for how long? And what has she done? What good have they done? What have they done for this country? And then you can look at what President Donald J. Trump has done just as president. Doesn't count all of the stuff that he did before president, even though that lady in that clip wanted to act like Trump is the worst possible person. Why should black people trust you? Why should black people trust Biden and trust Kamala Harris either? Vote for the best person. It's just whatever. I don't even like to get into that race stuff because it's just so stupid. It's so dumb. We came from one man and one woman. We all came from Adam and Eve, created by God. So I don't care what race you are. I don't care about anything about that. The sexualization is a completely different thing. That's a completely different thing. I do care about that. Man and woman, and that's it. That's all we have. There are two sexes, and that's it. And that's what the Bible says, and I trust the Bible. I'm sticking to the Bible over any of this other nonsense and garbage. So here is another fun-filled clip here. A few of them, but I will play this one. This is good. It's about 1:07. This just came out. Kennedy just released this about 40 minutes ago on everywhere.
Called the wrap-up smear. Yeah, well, it's just plain weird.
They come across weird, and then they start being weird.
Falsehoods and all the rest.
Just plain weird.
And then you merchandise it.
Dangerous to our democracy.
Dangerous to our democracy.
Dangerous to our democracy.
It's a tactic.
Biased and
False news has become all too common on social media.
If people want more of the same, they can vote Democrat and they can vote Republican. The only way we're going to get a change in this country is if people come together behind one candidate who is independent, who has vowed to have a unity government to bring Republicans and Democrats and others all together in a way that finds common ground in our country. We need a leader who can stop feeding into the vitriol, stop feeding into the anger, stop feeding into the marginalization, the polarization, and who can find those values that bring Americans together.
What excites you the most about a Kennedy presidency?
He's the only candidate linking soil health and human health.
No other president has the kind of history and understanding of the environment that Bobby has.
To repairing our environment,
To fighting the corrupt merger between government and big corporations.
he wants to hold our government accountable.
He believes in protecting our constitutional right.
And he will help us fight to get these freedoms and rights back.
Kennedy's the only candidate with workable solutions.
He not only says what he's going to do, but how he's going to do it.
I loved how much he wants to unify us.
And he is somebody who will actually heal the divide.
He is the president to be in the White House.
It's time for America to stand up and all of us declare our independence.
These left wingers and right wingers, we don't need that. Let's give us a chance at our future, a real chance. And I feel like Mr. Robert Kennedy, our next president, is going to give us a real chance.
That's right. I like it. Well, that may be the best way to really end this.
When I first went to
end this off here, it's beautiful. If I should end it with a little bit of this Trump, I'm going to just a little bit here, just like a minute or so. I'm just going to take it out with that. I just want to let everybody know Jesus Christ loves you, and so do I. And I'm going to leave you with a little bit of this. This is from let me just share it here so you can see it. This is from the YouTube channel. It's Sean Daniel. If you're not subscribed like me, I thought I was subscribed, but whatever. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button. 1 hour of Donald Trump roasting everybody. I don't think I'm going to play the whole thing. I'm not going to leave with that. But there's some great stuff here. Like to hear it? Here it goes. God bless you all. Till next time.
You graduated either the lowest or almost the lowest in your class. Don't ever use the word smart with me. Don't ever use that word.
Oh, give me a break.
Because you know what? There's nothing smart about you, Jill.
It's just awfully good that someone with the temperament of Donald Trump is not in charge of the law in our country.
Because you'd be in jail.
Secretary Clinton.
I mentioned food stamps, and that guy who's seriously overweight went crazy. He went crazy. Amazing.
What a stupid question that is. What a stupid question. But I watch you a lot. You ask a lot of stupid questions.
You've called women you don't like fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. Your Twitter account.
Only Rosie O'Donnell. I saw the other night, he couldn't find the stairs off the stage. He's looking. You ever notice he looks like this? He's finished with the speech, which usually lasts no longer than about 3 minutes because, you know, the medical stuff wears off after 3 minutes.
This game, you're not ready for it.
Look at those hands. Are they small hands? And he referred to my hands. If they're small, something else must be small. I guarantee you there's no problem. I guarantee.